name is Myra and welcome to my channel once again, where I talk about books and such. Welcome! So this video is my second book review. Officially, I did my first book review a while back on the Night Circus, and you can click on it somewhere here at the top of the screen if you want to take a look at it, and I'm saying you should. So today I will be reviewing Once Upon a Path by Edwin Gustafson, and right here you can see the picture of the cover. Yeah, appreciate it. So this book was actually sent to me a while back by the author, like I believe it was like maybe September, and I just hadn't had the chance to just sit and give it a good read because it is a very short book. I really wanted to sit and read it all out at once, and I am on break from work for a couple of days, and so I finally did it, and I'm really glad that I did. So let's get started. By the way, I will not get actually spoily. I'll review the book with non-spoilers, so you can watch the whole thing and then you can go and read it, and I will put all the links for the stuff where you can get it right down on the description box down below. Alright, so I decided to split this review into two parts. First part is the actual storyline that the book carries, and the second one is the language. So the story in itself was actually pretty interesting. I hadn't really read something like it before. By the way, I don't know if I said it, but the book is around 80 something pages long, so it's pretty short. And within this 80 something pages of the book, there's a pretty good amount of characters, and there's two different storylines happening simultaneously or at the same time, but in different time periods. So the book begins in a very kind of confusing note, almost a very first like 2 pages, because you're not really sure what's happening. You kind of fall in the middle of a story and then you're like, what? So after that, the actual story begins. The first story, which revolves around this one character. Her name is Imogen, right? So we have Imogen in the first storyline, and in the second storyline you have another storyline which revolves around this young man named Tamal, and it seems that this storyline takes place in a far long ago time. What's really interesting about the story though is that the story doesn't just revolve around human characters, but it has a whole bunch of just animal characters. So you have a horse and ducklings and cats and a dog and even a panther thrown in there. So it's really interesting to read from them. Oh, anyway, the story goes back and forth between Imogen's story and Tamal's story, and it seems like Tamal is hovering over Imogen's story, if that makes sense, over her life. So you can hear Tamal's voice throughout Imogen's storyline. And so it just follows these two characters and the intermingling that they have with their animal friends. So in the first storyline, you meet Emmanuel, who is a 3-legged dog who lost his other paw. I don't know how, because nobody really knows how that happened. And then you have these 2 cats that Imogen has really connected with, but that they are not hers, they're her neighbors, so she can't really keep them, it's interesting because her friend is like, you just need to get your own cats, man, and she's like, but I like those. So I mean, I can totally relate to that because I have 3 cats and they're all strays, and I felt like they chose me, and we've had this connection with our cats, my whole family and I. It's weird, it's so weird, but anyway, we love our animals. In the second storyline, you have Tamal, who has a horse and 2 ducklings, and so you start seeing parallels actually between these 2 stories and how the characters from Tamal's storyline, which happened years and years ago, can reflect on the characters of today throughout Imogen's story or her storyline. So you see a lot of parallels, so things kind of like, you start making sense of how and where certain characters came from. Like present characters reflect some of the past characters. So an overarching thing that I seem to notice throughout the story was kind of like the circle of life, and how life just keeps on going. And so it was really interesting to read about that. It was really interesting to see those parallels and characters from the past to the present. So it was interesting because, I mean, one, it's such a short book, however, it gave you so much to think about, and I don't know, I think the perspective comes also different being a pet owner or like a lover of animals, where you get, I don't know, a little more appreciation for animals, and it was just great. So overall, the story revolved around just the circle of life and the connection between people and animals, and how life just keeps going. And so it was really thought-provoking, and it was very interesting. Again, I hadn't read something like this before, so it's pretty fresh. Now going into the language of the story, it was actually really good. I started reading and I finished reading, and honestly my favorite part of my experience was the language of the book. It's very beautiful, it's very atmospheric almost. So the author uses a lot of personification, again because you're not only dealing with humans, you're also dealing with animals. So the animals had lots of personification, and the setting had a lot of personification too, because where these two storylines connected was in the setting of the storyline. Both of these stories took place in the same time, just different time periods. So it was on a path, hence Once Upon a Path, by a river, and so there was a lot of just personification and so much imagery, but it was really interesting. It was very, I don't know, it was very good. I really loved the imagery and the language used, and I loved the personification given to the setting and to the animals. It was great. Now that being said, at the end of the day, I do recommend this book. I thought it was really good. It's actually one of those books that I would like to reread. I finished reading it and I had some questions about certain parts, and I went back and I read just the very first page or two that made no sense to me when I started reading it, and it just totally made sense then. I was like, so that's where it came from. So I do want to reread this book maybe a little bit during the summer or springtime, because it feels like a very springy and summery kind of book. If you're looking for a short, thought-provoking, charming type of book, I recommend you go ahead and click down on the links and get it and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I apologize about the light because I live in Texas and it's December and it's hot and I don't understand why. Merry Christmas though. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Blah, 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 blah.